I still have his number saved under a different name. That's the part I keep coming back to. Not what I did, I know what I did, but the fact that I never deleted it, even after I said I was done. My name is Claire, and the man I was marrying, the man I am still married to, his name is Daniel. He is a good person. I want you to hold on to that, because everything I'm about to tell you sits on top of that fact, and it gets heavy. Daniel and I had been together for 4 years before he proposed. He proposed on a Wednesday. Nothing special about the day, no restaurant, no ring box snapped open at a viewpoint. He just handed me a coffee the way he always did, sat down across from me at the kitchen table and said, "I want to do this forever. I want to make coffee with you forever." The ring was on the counter. He'd set it there while I was still half asleep. I said yes, before I even put the ring on. The man I'm talking about, the other one, his name is Marcus. Marcus was before Daniel, 2 years before Daniel. We ended badly, the way things end when two people are fundamentally wrong for each other, but also, somehow, exactly right. You know that combination. You've probably felt it yourself. The wrongness that feels like home. Marcus and I didn't have a clean ending. We had a slow bleed that lasted about 8 months past when it should have stopped. I initiated the final break. I was the one who said we were done. And then I moved across the city and I met Daniel, and I chose something steadier. For 3 years, Marcus was just a name I didn't say out loud. The week before my wedding, I started having trouble sleeping. That's not unusual, I know that. Brides lose sleep. It's practically a cliché. But this wasn't nerves about the wedding. It was something quieter and more specific. It was the feeling that I had left a door open somewhere and never gone back to close it. I told myself it was just anxiety. I told myself that for 5 days. On the 6th day, which was the day before my wedding, I texted Marcus. I told myself it was closure. That word does a lot of work for people who want to do something they shouldn't. I texted him something simple, something I thought was safe. I said, "I'm getting married tomorrow. I just needed you to know I'm okay." That was it. That was how I framed it to myself, as a kind of goodbye, a final notification, the sort of thing a reasonable person does to tie off a loose thread. He responded in 4 minutes. He said, "I know, I heard, can we talk?" I should have stopped there. I want you to understand, I knew at that moment exactly where this road went. I've been on it before. I knew the topography of Marcus and me. I knew every turn. I went anyway. We met at a coffee place neither of us had ever been to before. A neutral location, like a negotiation. He was already there when I arrived. He looked the same. That was the first problem. I had spent 3 years constructing a version of Marcus in my memory that was a little smaller, a little less. The version across the table from me was not smaller. We talked for 2 hours. I'm not going to tell you everything we said. Some of it I've never said to anyone, and I'm not ready to say it here. But I'll tell you what mattered. At some point, about an hour in, he reached across the table and he put his hand over mine. And I let him. I let his hand stay there for longer than I should have. Long enough that it became a choice I was making, not just something that happened to me. Nothing else occurred. I want to be precise about that. We sat in that coffee shop, his hand on mine, and I looked at him, and he looked at me, and for a few minutes I was completely untethered from the life I had built with Daniel. Then I took my hand back. I drove home. Daniel was at his brother's for the night, the arrangement we'd made so we wouldn't see each other before the wedding. I sat in our apartment, in the kitchen, at the table where he'd set a ring on the counter, and said he wanted to make coffee with me forever. I sat there for a long time. The next morning I got dressed. My sister helped me with the zipper on my dress. My mother cried, the way mothers cry at weddings, and it felt like every other wedding I'd ever been to except that I was the one in the dress. Daniel cried too, a little when I walked toward him. He doesn't know that I noticed. He was trying to hold it together and not quite managing, and I loved him so completely in that moment that I almost told him everything right there, in front of everyone. I didn't. I said my vows. I meant them. Both of those things are true at the same time, and I've been living inside that contradiction ever since. Marcus texted me once after the wedding, just once. He said, "You looked beautiful. I hope he knows what he has." I read it, and then I set the phone face down on the nightstand and I didn't respond. I still haven't responded. That was 9 months ago. I've thought about telling Daniel. I've rehearsed the conversation in my head maybe a dozen times, what I'd say, how I'd frame it, what I was actually confessing to. Because that's the thing I keep turning over. What exactly did I do? I sat with someone. I let him hold my hand for 4 minutes. I didn't lie to Daniel directly, I just didn't tell him where I'd been. But I know why I went. That's what I can't get clean of. It wasn't closure. It was something I was checking, a door I needed to know was still there, even if I wasn't going to walk through it. And I think some part of me went hoping he would say something that would make the choice easier. That never went away, that part. I just chose Daniel anyway. I don't know if that makes it better or worse. I genuinely don't know. Daniel made coffee this morning. He handed it to me the same way he always does, both hands, like it matters that I receive it properly. And I held it, and I thought about that coffee shop and Marcus's hand and the fact that I never told him. I don't know what telling him would do. I don't know what keeping it does either. I just know I'm still living in the space between those two things, and it's smaller than it used to be, but it hasn't closed. Maybe it never will. What would you have done? Tell me in the comments.